As a cinematographer, you have to learn how to create the visual language for any story you're trying to tell. It could be about sports, like running or powerlifting. You might have to try to make the mundane everyday life look more interesting than it really is. And one subject I've wanted to work on for my cinematography skills is making cooking look cinematic. Let me take you through the planning with my thought process, the execution through filming with a behind-the-scenes look, and everything I learned while making this short film so you can have a better experience creating your own work. When creating any project, the most important step that will make the filming process easier is the planning that goes into it. For cooking cinematography, I haven't created anything around this topic before, so the best way to start figuring out what you want your visual language to be is by finding inspiration. I started by rewatching some of my favorite movies and shows, with The Bear as my biggest inspiration. I've really enjoyed the cinematography throughout the seasons of this show, the way they filmed their chefs and the food, and when you watch my short film, you can see the inspirations I took from here. I also looked at shot deck for reference stills I could use for different moments in my film, and I also found inspiration on YouTube for different ideas I could utilize. These references helped me think about the lighting I wanted, the set design of the kitchen, compositions, and any other details I might want to focus on. This is my first step in the pre-production. Next, I have decisions to make on the aspect ratio, the gear I would use, and many other important choices that will shape my final film. I decided to go for a 1.85 aspect ratio as I thought that fit the visual identity I wanted rather than 1.78. Usually, I create shot lists to plan exactly how I want the short film to play out, but here I didn't think it was necessary. With cooking, it's a bit more about going with the flow as things can easily change with any dish you cook, and I opted to go for more general ideas for shots I wanted to capture. I knew I wanted top-down shots at specific parts of the process, focus on the details of the dish, and the connection of the dish itself to the chef making it. You'll see more of this breakdown when we get into the behind the scenes. If you're going the route of not making a complete shot list like me, the best tip I can give you is to practice and do camera tests before the final filming. A few weeks before the actual shoot date, I wanted to practice filming the dishes we were going to use for the short film to help me think about where I could place the camera. This was without any lighting equipment I would use, only working on my shot ideas and camera focus. This taught me that it wasn't going to be easy relying on autofocus, and I definitely would have to switch back and forth to manual focus to grab all the details I wanted. This also helped me figure out when I wanted certain compositions at specific points of the recipe, and that's what I would keep in mind on the final day of filming. Without shooting these tests, my final short film would not have been as good as it could be. This also helped me think about how I wanted to light the space for the feel I was going for. I wanted the setup to be simple so I could easily move around the space and nothing would be in the way. I experimented with different lights and setups and found one to be perfect for the space I was working in. I only needed two main artificial light sources for both looks I wanted to achieve, and we'll see those setups in the behind the scenes as well. There is one more important choice you have to make in the planning process to know how the overall feel of the film will turn out, and it's our choice in music. The songs you edit to can completely shift the tone of your projects, affecting how immersed your audience is in the world you created. You crafted something all with your creative vision and talent, so you need to use the best music that reflects the work you put into it. That's why I use MusicBed, the sponsor of today's video, for music made by artists who put everything into their work. I love using music to enhance my stories. It's something I cannot go without. When I made the switch to MusicBed, I was able to move away from songs that felt generic. I enjoyed discovering new and upcoming artists that put meaning behind their work because that's what I hope my audience finds in my cinematography. I make my music choices early in my filmmaking workflow, so I know going into filming what emotions I'm trying to capture, no matter what I create. This matters more than the camera you choose to film on. I have to be intentional with the music I pick, while it's easier to create nowadays with most cameras that are out. And with the world we live in pushing generative AI so much into our lives, MusicBed is the music licensing source I can trust that continues to push for human creativity. The artists are handpicked to make sure their music can elevate our storytelling, pushing for emotional depth and impact that will enhance the audience's immersion. We have the power to make the right choices when we want to put our stories out in the world, and MusicBed is helping us keep that chance possible. If you want to create with meaningful music like I do, MusicBed offers a 14-day free trial so you can push your creativity further. Link is in the description, and thank you to MusicBed for sponsoring today's video. So much planning goes into this, but when it comes time to film, you will be thankful you spent the time on it. Let's get into the behind the scenes, starting with how I lit this short film. We filmed 2 dishes for this short film. The first was pancakes, going with an early morning feel in the lighting, and the second was a grilled cheese with tomato soup, giving it a cozy evening feel. If you want to see a full breakdown of the early morning look with the pancakes, I created another video on the Adorama Cinema YouTube channel, showcasing how I created the first half of my cooking short film. For both setups, I used practical lighting and only needed to add 2 lights to enhance the space I was working in. For this warmer evening feel, I wanted to increase the ambient lighting to bring up the levels as it was too dark to start. I bounced the June Molis B200 on a light stand against these white shades from the windows to spread and soften the light as it reaches the kitchen. There was no need for softboxes or additional diffusion. Next, if I had more time and money, I would have liked to set up an overhead lamp above the kitchen island to get a cozier feel like in some of these examples. But instead, I used the Nanlite FC120B with a projection mount attached and pointed it above the island for a top light look. I used the mount to cut the light into a specific shape and position so it's further in front of the island to achieve more pleasing shadows down below. I did use the wall lamps in the space and the top lights in the kitchen but at a lower intensity so it didn't look too harsh. But I also bought LED light bars from Amazon to act as under cabinet lighting in the kitchen, adding splashes of light and dark, and give me some color contrast as I made them a bit cooler than the ambient lighting. When I needed a little more punch from the light placed above the stove, I actually replaced it with the LumeCube mini tube light when it wasn't seen on camera. Having this setup made it easy for me to move around the space to capture the shots I wanted. With the lighting done, I wanted to mention that for this cooking short film, I used 2 cameras. My Sony a7 IV and I borrowed the Sony FX3. I wanted to build out my a7 IV as I plan to use this handheld for almost the entire shoot. I wanted to add weight to it to get rid of any micro jitters when handheld, and add a monitor to make it easier to see my focus and exposure. I also plan to get top-down shots at specific moments throughout the short film as a specialty. I didn't want to have to tear down the a7 IV and miss out on other shots, so I used the FX3 on a C-stand for the entire shoot. This made things so much easier to go back and forth between what I needed to get down with the chef and what I wanted from above. I had very specific ideas in mind for the top-down shots, and it's thanks to the camera tests and planning I did before getting to this point. I knew I wanted both intro shots to be shot from above, showing the cookbook and giving a chance to use text to showcase what is being made. I also wanted both ending shots of the final meal to be shown in this perspective as well, as if she's serving the dish right before we captured the taste test. In between, I liked having the setup above the stove to give the viewers a clearer look at what the chef sees looking down at the pot or pan. I didn't want to overuse this angle, and I think I achieved a balance I'm happy with. Throughout this short film, I had 3 main shot types to capture. The first is obviously the details of the cooking process and the steps that are important to the recipe. 2, the top-down shots to get a different perspective on the process and for specific moments I had in mind. And 3, moments between the chef and her process. From the bear, I saw that these moments add more value to the audience, seeing the relationship the chef has with what they're creating, and I thought it was important to sprinkle those moments in my work as well. It's not only in the bear you see this, but you really do notice that sometimes it's more about who's making the food than the process itself. Filming for this was pretty straightforward since the lighting was out of the way and I could go wherever I needed to. After filming, I went back to put the final film together, and you can see the final short film now on my channel. I definitely recommend you go watch it as we put so much time into one full day of filming this. With all this work put into the short film, there's a few things I learned from this process that can help you improve your own ideas. One big thing I took away from creating this is not to rely solely on autofocus. Most cameras, especially Sony ones, have incredible autofocus that even I rely on when I create videos by myself. But you also have to know when to switch to manual focus or lock it on what the audience should pay attention to. With so many different objects and layers in some of my compositions, these cameras might not know exactly what to focus on, or could hunt for focus when we don't want them to. Especially when the focus isn't on someone's face, our cameras won't know for sure what we mean to focus on, so learn to blend auto and manual focus together in your skills. One big suggestion I think everyone should do when creating is camera tests, if you have the time. This can help you know way in advance what you're looking for in your final filming. You can experiment here with compositions, lighting, and even color grading to see how the final image can turn out. Every project I work on now, I have to do this, and it has saved me and made me less stressed on the actual shoot day because I know how my film is going to turn out by the time I go to edit. Filmmaking is all about the planning that goes into it. If you go in prepared with a plan, you will almost always never fail, or it would be really hard to. I hope seeing my process helped you learn how to push your skills further and help you become a better cinematographer and filmmaker. If you enjoyed this behind the scenes breakdown, make sure to leave a like, comment below any questions you may have, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.